Tax is the amount levied by the government for the benefits used by the business people or a person, what I can call a person, based on the remaining amount whatever we have on that transactional value. We are going to calculate the GST payable. We will list what is the steps are there for registration process, and we are going to record this information in the practical book. Warm welcome to 6th B.Ba student. The subject we are going to discuss, goods and services tax. This is a subject which is more familiarized in today's scenario, and the subject guides us how the taxes are levied on the goods what we are producing and selling in the market, and who has to pay the tax, and what type of taxes are there under GST, and who will bear the taxes, and who will have the more burden on the profit earned by the business person has to pay the tax, or a common person has to pay the tax. We are going to discuss in depth in this subject. I am Professor Rajesh Ella from Department of Commerce and Management, Vidhyaashram, First Grade College, Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. The agenda what we have here today, we are going to discuss about introduction of the subject and what syllabus is there for our 6th semester students, and how many units are there, and what are the skill development activities are there, and what is the exam pattern we have for the GST. The syllabus what we have in our GST for 6th B.Ba, it is 5 units, that's it. The first unit says for us basics of taxation. Means in this concept we are going to learn in such a way that one introduction of taxation, how many types of taxes are there, what is the tax structure in Indian market we have, and the brief history of GST. We are going to discuss those concepts and GST framework and definitions of certain terms which are required in this particular subject for the examination point of view. We are going to discuss, and the supply of time, place and value. These concepts are discussed in the unit 3, and even we are going to solve some problems on time, place and value of supply. And in the 4th unit, we are going to have the GST, goods and services tax liability, and who will get the input tax credit benefit, and how much you will be getting, on what concept you will be getting the input tax credit benefits for the business people, and GST procedure for registration and other concepts we are going to discuss in the unit 5. This is the syllabus what we have in our 6th B.Ba. The first unit says for us, in this in-depth we are going to discuss what is tax, meaning and types of taxes. Tax is the amount levied by the government for the benefits used by the business people or a person, what I can call a person. So in the taxes we have 2 taxes. We have one, the types of taxes. If they ask, we have to write direct taxes and indirect taxes. If they ask the types of income, it will be Indian income and foreign income. Like that we have different concepts we have here we're going to learn, and taxes, and even we're going to learn the concept called the types of GST what we have, and other concepts we are going to discuss in depth here. And what is the difference between the direct taxation and indirect taxation? Direct tax is nothing but where the income will be earned by a person and the same person is going to pay the tax to the government. But in indirect taxation concept, the income earned by a person, but the tax will be paid by the other person who consumes the goods or who gets the benefits of services is going to pay the tax. Means the income earning by person and the tax will be paid by other person. Means the same person is not going to pay the tax in indirect taxation. This is a concept we are going to learn in OEM. And the brief history of indirect taxation in India, we are going to learn from the beginning till today what is the journey we had for indirect taxation earlier, what type of taxes we had and how the taxes has been merged and to frame the new concept called one nation, one tax in our country by bringing GST. Structure of Indian taxation. There's a concept what we're going to learn in Indian concept, that is we have dual GST model we have. So those we're going to learn in depth and we're going to understand the concepts easily. The unit 2, the introduction of GST and orientation to CGST, SGST, IGST and UTGST. So central goods and services tax, state goods and services tax, integrated goods and services tax, union territory goods and services tax. These are the 4 types of GST what we have, and we're going to learn in depth, and its orientation we're going to learn. And in the same chapter we are going to learn the meaning and scope of supply, and how many types of supply are there, and which are the exemptions are there for goods and services, and which is not taxed in the GST concept. In the unit 3, we're going to learn the time, place and value of supply. We're going to learn in depth the time of supply, and in case of goods and in case of services, we are going to learn that neatly. We're going to understand the concept of time of supply, and we're going to ascertain the time of supply as well as place of supply by solving some problems, and we're going to understand the concepts easily. In case of goods and services, both in general and specific services, we're going to learn the concept of place of supply. And problems on identification on place of supply, value of supply, we're going to learn the meaning, and we're going to solve some problems, which are the amounts should be added and which are the amounts are excluded, and how we are going to solve the problem. And if they are giving the words like called in the calculation of value of supply, inclusive of GST, with price of machinery 4,48,000 at 12% are given. See, they're saying that when the GST is already included in the price of machinery, where it is 4,48,000 includes our GST also. I have to exclude that one and I have to calculate for that one. 4,48,000 into 12 divided by 112. So it will be 48,000 will be the GST amount, and the price of the machinery will be 4,48,000 minus 48,000. So it will be 4 lakhs will be the price of the machinery, and for this price of the machinery we're going to add all other expenses and we're going to calculate what is the transactional value. From the transaction value we're going to give the benefit of discount, either cash or trade discount. Then based on the remaining amount whatever we have on that transactional value, we are going to calculate the GST payable and what will be the GST paid by the person who is going to supply the goods and is going to collect the tax and is going to pay to the government. And next, 4th unit here, we are going to collect the rates of GST. We have rates of GST 0%, 5%, 12%, 18% and 28%. That's it we have. So we have 0%, 5%, 12%, 18% and 28%. If it is intra, so CGST and SGST will be there. So 5% means out of this 2.5 will go to CGST and 2.5 will go to SGST. If it is 12%, so 6% will go to CGST and 6 will go to this one. 18%, so 9% will go to CGST and 9% for SGST. 28% means 14% will go to CGST and 14% will go to SGST. If it is intra transactions, if it is inter transactions, so entire the percentage will be written in the IGST. So this is the concept what we have. We're going to learn in depth and what are the rates based on the classification we're going to have, and problems on computation of GST liability we're going to compute in this mannerism, and then what is the input tax credit we have here and how we are going to get the benefit of input tax credit, and we are going to solve some problems on calculation of input tax credit, and what is the net GST payable by the person who has given the services or sold the goods to the other person, and what is the benefit is going to enjoy. If assume that at the time of acquiring raw material, I have paid tax here 1 lakh, and at the time of supply, I have collected 1,40,000 tax here. What is the tax I have paid here? Already I have paid 1 lakh, and here I am collecting tax 1,40,000. So 1,40,000 minus 1 lakh, 40,000 is the GST payable, and this 1 lakh is called input tax credit available for the person who is going to convert the raw material into finished goods. Now, whatever the tax he has paid, that benefit can be taken by the manufacturer whenever he sells or supplies or transfer the goods to other person. When he collects the GST from the consumer, whatever the amount he collects that one, out of that whatever he has paid, already paid to the government, that amount will be deducted, and the remaining amount he has to pay. The amount what he has deducted is the input tax credit what is available for the benefits. Now, the benefits can be enjoyed by all the people, and there is no burden for the manufacturer or the wholesaler or the retailer, because the final tax will be paid by the ultimate consumer and not by the manufacturer or the wholesaler or the retailer. This is a concept we are going to learn in this subject. Next one. So we are going to learn in this unit GST registration. So who has to register and who should not register, and what should be the turnover for the business, and which type of business has to register, and which type of units which are giving services that has to be registered or not. In depth we are going to learn on the concept of registration, and what is tax invoice, and what is the levy and collection of GST, who will levy the GST and who will collect the GST, and how they are going to pay the GST the government. Like for example, levy will be made by the central government as well as the state government, and it will be collected by the business people and paid to the government here. And next one, composition scheme. If a business person opts the composition scheme, then what is the GST rate will be there, and what benefit he can enjoy, and what are the benefits he will be not getting for the opting composition scheme, and which are the due dates are there for payment of GST, accounting record, and how we have to maintain the books of accounts, and what type of information it should be there, and what information, if it is not there, how they're going to penalize for the transactions which has been excluded from the books of accounts. Each and every concept we're going to learn, and GST forms and returns will be discussed here. How many types of returns are there in that one? Monthly, annual, and final returns will be discussed here. And what are the due date for filing the returns? What is final assessment, and accounts and audit under GST? This is the concept we are going to learn in the Unit 5 GST procedures. And in the skill development concept, we'll do some activities in such a way that let us collect some process of GST registration for a business. So we will list what is the steps are there for registration process, and we're going to record this information in the practical book. And in the same time, we will prepare a chart for the time of supply with the concept relevance in GST. Based on the concept of GST, we are going to have a great image and flow chart for the time of supply. And in the same time, we're going to have the identifying the place of supply for goods and services in different scenarios. We're going to list, and we're going to prepare a chart based concept for the place of supply also with different scenarios. And we're going to write the format for GST liability with certain imaginary values by taking into some values into consideration. What is the GST liability for the person? We're going to identify this one. First, we'll write the format, and then we're going to calculate the transactional value, and value of supply, and then GST. Everything we're going to calculate, and we're going to make you people to understand the concepts easily. This has to be written. All the 5 points should be written in a practical record. So it is good for you people, either for internal marks or it may be for the future aspects also. And process of availing input tax credit in GST, we are going to learn this one, and this is benefited for the students to learn and get the information for their businesses and even for the future aspects also. The exam pattern, what we have here, 60 marks paper, it is normally what we have here, and it has been divided into 3 parts, part A, part B, and part C. In the part A, it is 2 marks question will be asked. 7 questions will be there, where I have to write 5 questions, and it is 2 marks each, so it will be 10 marks for me. And here in the part B, they're going to ask you 4 questions where you have to write 2 questions, and here they're going to ask 4 questions and here to write 2 questions, and it is a 10 marks, so it will be 20 marks here, and it is 15 marks, so it will be 30 marks. So 30, 20, 50 plus 10, 60. This is the concept what we have for the examination pattern. Thank you to all our 6M BBA students. The subject is very easy and interesting, and it is going to be benefited for you to get some additional information for your business aspects as well as for other future aspects. If you have a planning to start any business in the future, whether I'll come under bracket of GST or not, and what are the procedures are there to register and get the GST number for our business. Thank you once again to all our 6M BBA students, and namaste and good luck for your 6M BBA.